Good evening. You're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy, Pod Job, standing by.
This is Rodney, Podfather, standing by.
All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about sci-fi, Star Wars, movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from the galaxy far, far away. Tonight, our flight plan includes a very special guest, Mr. Dom Magwili. Don Magwili is joining us. He is an author, actor, director, acting teacher. He has taught with East West Players as well as Cal State Fullerton. He has written plays and musicals. He has been in films like 51st States and many others. Please welcome Don Magwili.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes. Okay, and for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram. Find us on Twitch and YouTube. Like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader today. I'm Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate. I'm a director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Rodney.
Hey, everybody, it's Rodney. Producer and showrunner of Pod Squadron, but also co-founder of the Geekish Network. And we are missing Lexi, Tracy, and Jason, but we hope to have everybody back in the gang back soon.
Yes.
Excited to be here with Dom.
And of course, we are just one squad in this fleet. We're part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on the Geekish Network. You can find us on YouTube as also on Facebook. As foils to attack position, we're going in. Hello, Mr. Magwili.
Hello.
How's it going?
We're in the middle of the holiday season, so lots of going on, and it's just sort of the countdown to Christmas, and then afterwards the New Year. So it's not business as usual. It's kind of cranking up right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been kind of all over the place, back down to San Diego, up to the Bay Area, back here in LA for a couple of days, and going on another trip. It is a little crazy right now, but that is the holidays. So Dom is here because he has a new book coming out. This is called Scientific Dragons. And Dom, tell us a little bit about what you want to tell us about the book, or what
Sure.
inspired it, or how?
Well, the full title is Scientific Dragons: The Adventure of Vincent Castle. It is the short version is that an expatriated Filipino is living in Europe, and he is recruited by this Japanese-American spy and this immortal Chinese pirate to defend a small country from a secret society organization that is intent on invading and taking it over. And it is this big adventure there, and it's done in the style of steampunk, which is versions of that is Victorian futurism. Or if you have ever seen either the TV show The Wild Wild West or the movie The Wild Wild West, it is James Bond in the 1850s or 60s, something like that. So it's futurism, but with horses and covered wagons and an older motif than what you're used to.
So real quick, Andy, is it because this is why we have him on, is because your nickname is Chinese Pirate. So, so are you in the book? No, just
I mean, I don't believe I'm in the book, but however, I know there is a Chinese pirate in the book
Yes,
itself. Yes.
yes. Um, I've been enjoying using actual historical figures as inspirations for the characters. And regarding the Chinese pirate, um, the historical figure, her name is Madame Ching Yi. Now, there are variations on that name, but she lived from the late 1700s into the mid or early 1800s. She is the queen of pirates. She is the most successful pirate in history. And I discovered her. Uh, I saw this coloring book for children, pirates, and I thought that because I write a lot, I thought this was a user friendly resource material. So I got it, and I didn't know it, but in the back page it referenced Madame Ching Yi,
Mm.
a Chinese female Chinese pirate of amazing accomplishment. Pardon me. And I have I have used that character in a lot of my writing because she's so interesting. The character of Madame Ching Yi appeared in Pirates of the Caribbean 3,
That's right.
and that the character was played by our friend Takayo Fisher, but she is present there, and I just in a way to perpetuate her recognition and show her respect, I have her in this book as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly, I mean, you're not kidding when you're saying like one of the most prolific and successful pirates in like all of us. I mean, this I also kind of stumbled across this little bit of like untold history, and like, yeah, I mean, she had full armadas
Yeah,
under her command to the point that she kind of held the Chinese Navy and the Chinese government hostage, to the point that she basically negotiated with them and said, "Okay, so I'll surrender and whatever, but I've got to, I want a full pardon, and I own an island somewhere," something like that.
no. The emperor could not capture her,
Yeah.
and so she negotiated. I believe she went into smuggling. She left pirating and went into smuggling. But the character is historically, she's just amazing. She affected a pirate law, the way prisoners were treated, particularly women, and how spoils were divided. So she had uh, uh, that kind of influence on how pirates would conduct themselves. She's very formidable and just historically kind of awesome. But in terms of fiction, oh, the things you could do with that character is like it is very inspiring.
Well, so, but she's not the only historical character, right? I mean, you're kind of playing with like an alternate history or speculative history, with this, right?
Yeah, there is another character, and it's also inspired by a historical figure, um, Joseph Hecko. Joseph Hecko was the first naturalized Japanese American for the United States. It happened in like 1858, and he was an interpreter for the American delegations in Japan. And I am fascinated by that. Uh, that there would be an actual person who was naturalized an American citizen so early in our history.
Mhm.
And again, the character that I have in the book is inspired by that guy. They know of each other, and the real Joseph Hecko established the first English speaking Japanese newspaper, and is regarded historically in my presentations. I make mention of that. The other historical character that is an inspiration for one of the characters in the book is Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal is this beloved historical figure in the Philippines. He is the national hero of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Uh, um, he's actually 5 people because he does so much. He speaks 22 languages. He is a political reformer. He is a botanist. He is a scientist.
As a
He is a
writer,
dramatist. He is a novelist.
novelist,
Like I
yes.
said, 5 people. He could shoot. He could ride. He knew martial arts. He even wrote science fiction. And there is such. He is a turning point in regards to the story, the steampunk story, and no, now I deliberately want to go into the whole Star Wars impact. So I'm a part of East West Players, and the first Star Wars comes out, and I am overwhelmed. It is amazing. I'm in a theater, and I am watching people scream at that opening shot of the ship, the one ship escaping the larger one,
Yeah.
and it's like well, this is the '70s. You never saw anything like that before, and I'm hearing people like up in the balcony screaming, and I'm looking at it. I am also a member of the East West Players during the '70s, and in those days, Asian American studies and Asian American theater were working the same side of the street. We were writing content so that the teachers had something to talk about. The term Asian American was coined in 1968. So what is that? That was like 6 years. There's people were still trying to figure that out. What are we going to talk about? What does this consist of? And some part of it is historical. Uh, and anyway, I just noticed who was missing from that amazing saga, and it was people who looked like us.
Yeah.
Now, I there was subsequent other episodes where actually Asian people showed up. Thank you very much. But before they showed up, because I'm working out of East West Players. The attitudes of East West Players is if it isn't written, write it yourself. Because mostly for Asian American creative people, there wasn't any help. Not because they were like trying to stonewall you from doing anything. It just whatever your artistic dreams and fantasies were, I don't think mattered.
Yeah.
Other people's dreams mattered, but not yours. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and my instinct is to create this poor theater version of a space opera, except you would use puppets and you would use found objects and you would move them around as a way to deal with it. Well, this attitude of if it isn't there, write it yourself, uh, fundamentally is what would prevent you from doing that? What is the mindset where you do not allow yourself your own fantasies? Sidebar. Sorry. Sidebar. um, Sandra O oh talks about when she got the script for Killing Eve. And she talks about how she read it and she turned to her agent and said, "So what do they want me to play?" And the agent said, "Darling, they want you to play the lead." And Sandra O oh realized that her mind immediately did not go to the lead. It went to some supporting role. And like she was aghast at it. Oh my God. How we have been hoodwinked about what we can and cannot do. So I I'm an old romantic at heart, and I want to be heroic and brave and noble and all those things. Why can't I write about that? Well, the essence, as far as we are concerned, is yeah. Why can't we write about that? And a lot of it is we are predisposed to not include ourselves in that window, in that heroic window. Now, individually, oh my gosh, Pod Squadron, you guys talk about Star Wars, your heads are there anyway. But I would suggest to you
the hero myth, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but do we get to participate in it?
Yeah.
Now, folks from the mother country allow themselves that. They have heroes. From Masashi Miyamoto to Jose Rizal, they have heroes. But if you're born here in the States, where are your heroes? And you have to actively seek that out. They're not going to give it to you. You have to dig it up from history or create it for fiction. Put your fantasies in print. I can think of a couple of heroic characters that are American in nature. Now, of course, I'm trying to think who they are. Uh, um, Feng Zhou Gui was flew the first motor-driven airplane west of the Rockies in 1909
Hmm.
in Oakland, California. The Chinese, it was 7,000 Chinese built the railroad, but you don't see them in Promontory Point.
Yeah.
That photograph where you see the trains meeting.
And the
That
Golden Stake. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I have yet to find the Chinese there. They later did a photograph of Chinese people, Chinese American people, filling in where history did not acknowledge them there. Um,
I mean, this is the interesting thing too. Of course, kind of the Star Wars of it all. Of course, knowing that George Lucas was very, very inspired by Kurosawa and like samurai epics as he was creating the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi and the whole idea of the Force and
Jedi
lightsabers and
Knights.
all that. And to the point, I don't know if you knew this, Dom, but
yeah,
George Lucas originally pitched hard to the studio about casting Toshiro Mifune um um for Obi-Wan Kenobi. And apparently they let him pitch and Toshiro turned it down because he just didn't understand the script.
no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But can you imagine the impact that could have had if he had just said yes? Um kind
It
of
would be a different vibe entirely
yeah.
because
Yeah.
up until that point, he was the enemy in Bridge Over the River Kwai. He
Yeah.
was a terrific character, but he was the enemy. And to have Toshiro also heroic
Hmm.
is like, that's cool.
Well, not just
That is really
that, but
cool.
like how influential Star Wars has been to this day in every aspect of media, in every aspect, every genre, every piece of like genre film, filmmaking, just filmmaking in general is so inspired by Star Wars that like if he was Obi-Wan, I can't imagine what it would have been like for Asian American representation or just POC representation in general.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
It
it's
would be different.
1977.
Yeah.
It would have been so colossally different.
It's
Mhm.
so great, because I mean, this is the thing too, and I think this is one of the things that really drew me to genre, to sci-fi and fantasy. And I'm feeling this, as you described this as well, Dom, is that for me, like there were always strong female characters. There were always people of I mean, talk about Mako, seeing Mako and Ernie Reyes Jr. in Conan, right?
Yeah.
Or like those characters, like that whole scene, just popped up on my feed again. That whole "what is best in life."
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I mean, I love that idea. But the really cool thing that I think, in terms of your aspirations for this book too, is that it is kind of speculative history. It is an alternate reality, but it is still very much about our world and and kind of getting into, like you talk about Jose Rizal, but you get into kind of some of his time that he spent in Europe, right? I mean, and just
Yes,
thinking
about
about
that same time. The book takes place in 1888. Rizal is in, you can mark Rizal there. He's training in ophthalmology.
yeah.
His mom had bad eyesight, and part of his motivation to learn this was to help her. Well, then he's present. What else can we do with that? And I don't think he was the only one. It isn't like every third person in Europe was Filipino, but there was enough to form organizations. There was enough to form clubs and groups.
It's in,
They were lobbying Spain. They
Isn't
were
that
trying
where
to get
they?
independence. Yes.
Isn't that where they named themselves the Indios Los Bravos, right? The Indios.
I think they were trying to get the term Filipino.
Mm.
Uh,
But I
uh,
know they call themselves like
uh,
Indios. Yeah,
Before that, they were like Indios from the Philippines.
yeah.
They were natives, and uh, there became a segue from Indios to Filipino. I, I I'm not precise on that, but I do make mention of it
Yeah.
because our the lead character is refers to himself as Filipino, but other folks, particularly in the beginning of the book, refers to himself as an Indio, and that we could have another point. It stems from why we cannot or we have not been inclined to walk into that heroic place for ourselves is a presumption that Filipinos, say the discovery of the Philippines, of the Philippines by Magellan, I have always pictured brown people in loincloths, bare feet on a beach, very grateful for the arrival of the Spanish. But that doesn't even scratch the surface of what and who Filipinos were during that time. Do you guys are you familiar with the Laguna copper plate?
Mm-hmm.
The discovery of that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually.
Rodney, do you want to
Please.
speak to it, or shall I?
You can
Well, they
definitely have a
discovered.
more detail than I might.
No. I mean, because I wanted to speak to it, so I have it pulled up. Let me see.
I would say even also what was the there was a book that was highly publicized that they found, and I was going to say, and it was like I believe it was a priest, and he had detailed drawings of like the native Filipinos, um, what they wore, all that stuff, and so
Mm.
they were. And then I've some in some and you know I'm also everybody here in our audience knows I'm Filipino American, but Dom, you know
Oh
that
my
as
gosh,
well.
really? I
Yeah,
did not
no,
realize.
I did, but
Fooled me.
but then I'll look it up too. But basically, the people were that's they you know they were tattooed because it was a very big tradition. They had a lot of gold.
Yeah.
They had a lot of gold. Just you know, and the native people they were not exactly what you said. They were not in loincloths. They were in these elaborate, beautiful textiles, and you know, and it like you know beautiful like blues and golds and all these things. So he has like, you know, and I'll look it up. It's the and I'm actually trying to find. They have this really great translated version that I'm trying to pick up a copy of from the Philippines. But and it's like the Boxer Codex. I think that's what it was called, the Boxer Codex. And so, interestingly enough, like what you're saying is, yeah. So I guess to your point, Dom, is that there's this preconception, right, that we have coming from because of like the way history is told by essentially the colonizers, right? Is that, you know, a lot of these things get omitted. A lot of these things get lost over time. A lot of these things get just like just forgotten. And but then when you go back and look at it and you go, okay, this is like this is beautiful. Like you know, like you learn about other things like the Filipinos actually had. Speaking of like ships and pirates, they actually had a type of ship called a caracoa that was like well regarded by the by the explorers and by Spanish and all of them as like a superior craft. Like it was faster. They would have to like fight them off, and they were just like, yeah. So it's just like just a wealth of things that we've sort of forgotten over time, and forgotten.
Well, it was never taught to us.
It was never taught to us. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was never taught to us. I actually remember when I first found out about the Boxer Codex, I was actually on a tour called the Bayani Tour. And I was actually at the Ayala Museum, and we were doing it, and we saw they had images from the Boxer Codex in the Ayala, and they had this like timeline. And I remember we were all sitting there, and you may know, you guys know who she is, but Janelle, I was with Janelle, so she was part of that tour, and we were all walking. We were walking as a group, and we're looking at all this stuff, and we all look at each other. I remember this thing so clearly. We all look at each other and we go, why the fuck do we not know this? Like we were just like, flabbergasted, my flabs were gasted, right? Like we were just constantly through this museum, right? Looking at each other going, did you know this? No, I didn't know this. Did you know this? No, I didn't know this. How did we not know this? Like, where did we not learn? Why didn't our parents teach us? Obviously we didn't learn it from school because we all grew up here, but it was just one of those things.
Our parents did not know it either.
They didn't need. Yeah, I think a lot of it too. It's like, I mean, we're going down a really big, deep rabbit hole here, right? But it was so. It was so eye-opening because in the same thing, in that same museum tour, that's when I learned about all the gold and how prevalent it was. Like, it was like, and they were just like, and it was interesting because when Spaniards came, like they were like, oh, obviously they were looking for gold, right? They're looking for riches. But the Filipinos were like, oh yeah, we have this shit everywhere. Like, we don't care. Like, yeah, whatever. It's just like, they had so much gold, but now it's like, and you sit there and you learn all this stuff and you're like, yeah, they're beautiful art pieces, like beautiful gold art. They weren't just like a gold ring. They were like these really intricate like designs and, figurines and bracelets, and their attire was beautiful, and then the tattoos, like where it told a story, right? The tattoos on your body told a story, like everything, like it's so. And then of course that got pushed away, right, because of Christianity. Like that started becoming like that's it's forbidden, right? It's like, oh, that's against Christ's teaching. So but like a lot of the tribes that still have it, but it's that again is like a completely lost art because of all that you've said, right? Whereas like if you're talking, I'll end on this, and sorry for my little soapbox, but as you can tell, I've done a lot of study on this too, but with the tattoos, they would literally tell a story. Right? It would tell a story of your family. It would tell a story of your tribe, but it would also even just tell a story about yourself. Like, hey, I beheaded this many people, and it would literally be on your chest in your tattoos saying, I beheaded like 5 guys, right? And it was just like that. So like that sort of like storytelling, and going back to what you were saying, Dom, about like being the hero, right? And telling our stories within that like hero sense, and is like, yeah, that was literally written on these guys' chests. But then because of the influence of of Spain and colonization, that practice has gone away. Whereas nowadays people are trying to recapture that. Like I am too. I did get some, like, even this, like this is just like, even this is Babayin. This says my last name Cahudo, but it's like this like ancient script of a language is like gone because we converted to English letters and all that stuff. So
we weren't coming out of caves and out of nipa huts.
Yeah.
The Filipinos and the Philippines was a trade center, and there was commerce, and there was conversation, and language was sophisticated. Well, So when you discover this stuff, what does that do for your storytellers? And what kind of latitude do you suddenly like have access to that you never thought you could, other than just create it whole cloth out of your imagination? And I suggest that you can. There's a lot of fantasy fulfillment here, and largely my writing is fantasy fulfillment. I write comic books in text. Is mostly that. What I want to see, what I want to talk about, just the idea of being heroic, the of the grand gesture that we get to participate in. That's cool to me. I hope it's cool for people who read it, but it is at the very least my aspiration and my goals as a writer, as a creative person.
So tell us about your main character. Tell us about Ensign Castle.
Well, Ensign Castle is actually the name of a castle,
Oh,
and the main character's name is Edmund Agbayani.
oh, okay. Whoops.
And he used to be a medical doctor, but he doesn't do it anymore. He used to be a reformer along with Jose Rizal, but he doesn't do that anymore either. He has become a businessman, a Filipino businessman living in Europe. The reasons why he is no longer doing those things was a heartbreaking experience when he was a doctor. So we start with that, and uh, uh, Jose Rizal is his cousin, and Jose is going to be honored in the small country of Visalia for his book, one of his famous novels. And he convinces Edmund, look, I can do a lot of things really well, but I'm not so good as a singer. Why don't you sing one of the folk songs from back home? And Agbayani says, what, me? He said, yeah, you. And so he does. He's pressured into doing it, but he is intrigued by the princess of that country, and in many ways, that as the plot unfolds, he becomes a participant in a plot within plots. Uh, there is well at this time the Meiji regime is making efforts to join the to be progressive and join contemporary commerce and politics, and they want to establish trade agreements. But they're still putting things together, but they want to see if they can get some things started early.
Mhm.
But to do that, they have to do it in secret. So the dream of this country is to become the focal point of such agreements and such meetings. So they cut a deal, and the Japanese ambassador is going to meet with the Vesalian representatives, and they're going to see if they can work out some trade agreement. And if that goes well, other countries will join in. All of which is designed to occupy a space and time because other plots are in action also. There is the country is divided into refugees from another country and fascists, nobility, and also there is the Savalonians, which are a country nearby who wants to invade, but they have been financed by this shadow government that is intent on taking over the country. So that's what's working. And Edmund Agbayani, in the midst of his romance with this princess, finds himself hip deep in these plots. So much so that he's getting in the way, and so the bad guys want a confrontation. Part of the good guys, and the scientific dragon is the name of a flying machine that's shaped like a Spanish galleon, and
Hmm.
its crew is made up of carnival performers.
Hmm.
The tattooed man, the bearded lady, Shula, the Amazon queen of Amazon of the Creole, the queen of the Creole Amazons, Alligator Mike, and Smithy, the oldest young man. They make up the cadre of the good guys, and they are trying to win the day together. So, in the course of these events, Edmund Agbayani finds his passion again and his romance and his love of country when before he had sort of like abandoned it. So that's the thumbnail.
Right on. Um, yeah, so when you set upon kind of this world building, what were I mean, because this is a world where, yeah, there are kind of the steampunk technology, um, in a speculative history, but there's also, active magic. I mean, where did you kind of begin with this world?
I began with the inspiration. Well, I mentioned Wild Wild West, and I
Mhm.
mentioned well, the movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is also
Oh,
a part of that, and
yeah.
oh gosh, War of the Worlds. Uh, Steampunk is characterized, besides all these fantastic inventions created by steam, it's characterized by gears and goggles and flying machines, even though the Wright brothers flew Kitty Hawk in 1903, I think. But in 1850, we have flying machines
Nice.
because why not?
I mean, they had balloons then, right?
Well, the dirigibles and zeppelins, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so some kind of amalgamation of a balloon with propellers, and then after that, it's whatever your design can be. Steampunk is part of it is a particular look, which is the gears and the goggles. Part of it is costume. The cosplay on steampunk is extreme. What I notice is the people who I've seen with photographs who dress up with top hats and goggles and all kinds of paraphernalia and equipment. There's a lot of seniors in that, people over 60. And I've thought, why are they gravitating to it? I get it if you go to I went to WonderCon and I would
Mhm.
see people dress up and like the kids get it. But why are their grandparents getting it? And then I remembered, see, this is before your time, Andy, but back in the 70s, um, the costume and wardrobe, particularly for men, was this whole Edwardian look. Uh, Platform shoes, high neck collars, men with large mutton chops or
Sideburns and stuff, yeah.
sideburns. We were way into costume. Well, I think that's making a comeback, and steampunk is an excuse to get dressed up again,
Yeah.
and so that's just an attractive appearance of steampunk.
I
Go.
mean, it's also, I mean, there's so much kind of whimsy to it too, right? I mean, the whole. I mean, I suppose it also kind of taps into the optimism of that era of the turn of the century, just as people are just starting to discover technology, and 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 that kind of exploring that transition from magic to technology, right?
Yes, I have to say, and this is why steampunk is very interesting to me, is because if you just take the Industrial Revolution on face value, people of color don't show up much at all.
Hmm.
It's largely colonial. You're looking at the world through the eyes of the conqueror. And yes, then from that point of view, yeah, as far as they're concerned, we come out of caves and nipa huts. But see, I've been doing research, and what a lot of these steampunk folks are into is they key in on the punk aspect of that era. And once you include punk, now you're getting into anti-authoritarianism, rebellion. You're getting into not history but fantasy, and suddenly queer people appear,
Mm.
people of color appear, women play an important part of it. Suddenly they function in this world. So steampunk uh, is a world where all my ideas can function really well, and I can have a lot of fun with it. So it works out, and it's just a lot of there's a great deal of joy. The whimsy that you speak of, that I can be a piece of this too, is a lot of fun. So I favor this whole steampunk aspect a lot.
So tell us, okay, so then the nuts and bolts of it, where can people find the book?
Uh, Scientific Dragons, the Adventure of Ensign Castle, is on Amazon, Amazon.com. You can type that in and you can find it. Um, there is a Kindle version that is might well, if you get it right, you could get it for free.
Mm.
It's amazing. The book is present. I'm currently working on the audio book narration part
Mm.
version of it. Um, we will be having a book signing on December 14th at the Outside In Theater in Highland Park on York Boulevard. I think you will have information on that, specifically the location and the specifics in time. I think it'll start at 3 and end at 5, but I'll be doing readings, answering questions, that sort of thing.
And Rodney, are you putting that link in chat as well,
I
or?
just did. Yeah.
Excellent.
Put it in
Yeah.
the chat.
So again,
Uh,
this is the book launch for Scientific Dragons: The Adventures of Ensign Castle. This will be December 14th. This is a Sunday at 3 o'clock p.m. at the Outside In Theater Art Space near Highland Park. Awesome.
So,
And what?
really,
And
Don,
go ahead.
can I ask you about? I know you said part of your mission is to kind of. You've written 2 novels now,
Yeah.
and so you said part of your mission, it was just to kind of like talk about like what you were saying before of like telling our own stories and creating our own heroes. But you said you want to do that one book at a time, right? So yeah, or one novel at a time. But like you know, could you talk about that? Like, how did you feel, like how did you come to this like decision to be like, hey, this, I want to do it this way and through this medium?
Uh, well, I put that at the feet of the East West players. Before that, I thought I was a European. I endorsed being a European. I'm a Filipino American, but I didn't really live in that world much at all. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't like my cousins and relatives. I could do Shakespeare. I was a trained actor. What did I have to do with my community? And there was a lot of blood racism in that, hostility to myself. And then I found the East West players, and it was a rude awakening. I tell the story of I went to see a production of East West doing Jungle in the Cities, and there were like 30 Asian Americans performing, and they did not have accents. And that blew my preconceptions out of the water. Huh. But I mean, I didn't. It wasn't like it wasn't a come to Jesus moment. I just shook me, and then I was fighting it intently for a number of years. I was trying to leave that theater and couldn't do it. Um, but my wife, Sachiko, we were doing cold readings, and I was doing a scene from House of Blue Leaves by John Guare, and I was doing Ronnie's speech. My father tell you about me, Pope Ronnie, how great I am. And she said, why don't you try it with a Filipino accent? To which I said, no way. I'm not going to go in front of Mako and all these guys, these heavy hitters with a Filipino accent. They'll laugh me out of the room. But she said, go on, try it. And I did. and Mako fell out, and they started laughing, and I felt different,
Mm.
and I can only speak for myself. I spent a large part of my creative life, both in high school and in college, speaking. I went out of my way to eliminate dialect from my voice. Um, but to bring dialect back in opened up a wealth of sensibility, emotionality, feeling that I did not allow for myself. And so that was a turning point for me. So the whole idea about what is Asian American and why do I lean so heavy into it is because I leaned so heavily out of it
Mhm.
through high school and college. And so uh, uh, coming back, I came back hard. I came back very much. I became an Asian American nationalist, and I really was not concerned about convincing the white community of how we deserve to be recognized as American citizens. I was really focusing in on our children and ourselves, saying, you know, you belong here. That is not just me being proud, that is the fact of it. I can prove it historically, I can prove it through numbers, I can prove it through contributions. But and this is the truth of the history of people of color overall and Filipino, well, Asian Americans in specifically, we're the only ones who talk about that. We're the only ones who like give it recognition. We have to dig it out, show to ourselves, and to remind ourselves, you know, you've got a piece of this. When I have since retired from teaching, and in 2020 I formally retired. But I've been talking during that time. I have talked to students, and when we get them in college, well, what do they think about most? They think about boys or girls. They think about dating. They think about social. They think about pizza, and who they are and what they are is if they don't have to deal with it, they won't deal with it. But occasionally they wonder. And I use the line from Pacific Overtures: the bird from the sea, not knowing pine from bamboo, will roost on anything.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what do we want them to roost on? Uh, um, this I use the phrase: do they look into a mirror and feel regret in what they see, or are they going to roost on things that can make them feel good about themselves? And because I'm a teacher and I teach in Asian American studies, my mission is clear. So I go in with that kind of intention. It's on that level. You don't know what reaches people about themselves. You sort of throw it out there, and maybe when they get into their 30s, they will think about it. Maybe it'll come to them as they have children. I don't know. All we can do, the people who work in this particular arena, is we keep telling stories and we see what sticks. We are throwing linguini against the wall and seeing what sticks. But for myself, it's a great deal of enjoyment um, because I didn't get to experience this growing up. So I'm trying to experience it now.
I was having a conversation yesterday with I do a part-time drive for Lyft. Andy knows this. And I had a passenger yesterday. It was a Filipino guy with a Mexican girlfriend. And he's never been to the Philippines. And so I was telling him how there from a period from 2009 to 2015, I went to the Philippines like once a year. So I kind of alluded to it before. We did the Bayani tour. That was one of the trips, and I remember my first year there. It was in my third, like again, like you said, it was in my 30s, and I was just like, growing up, I did not care to know my roots. I grew up more American than Filipino, and but then sometimes, we went there for a family reunion, and just stepping foot on the land, smelling the air, seeing all the people that look like me, like being around my family, hearing just nothing but Tagalog and, some smatterings of English. It was like something, it was like something akin to like a religious experience of like, this is the land of my people. This is where my parents are from. This is where my ancestors are from. This is where my blood's from. It's just like, it was like the humid air. I don't know if it was the humid air or the smell, just smells, or like being so, just
it's
always
the
being
Dinuguan, man.
It's like the lechon everywhere, right? The the lechon and the pandesal, like drinking sodas out of a bag. Like, I don't know, it was just. Yeah, and so ever since then, it's just like this, like you said, I became very militant about it. It became this like very, I just wanted to soak up everything, and so I resonate with what you say about you don't know if it's going to affect. So that's what I told the guys, like, hey, you should really go back, because he looked like in his 30s, and I said you should definitely. He's like, you had never been back. It's like, go back with your mom. He's like, he grew up. I think his dad was white, so he was half, and he said he grew up in Indiana. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You should go back with your mom. And I'm not guaranteeing it will happen for you like that, but being there and seeing like where your parents are from and seeing all this stuff and just knowing that that's where you're from, like that your ancestors are from, you might have this sort of like eye-opening sort of religious experience too, and so I really do, and I guess it's like, yeah, I wish that for everyone, and not just Filipinos, but like anyone that's of the diaspora, right, of wherever they're from, right. And so I really resonate with what you're saying, Dom, as far as like saying and telling our own stories and picking these, historical figures and putting them to a page and giving them this like hero's journey. Because as like you said, we talked about Star Wars. It's the hero's journey. It's like Joseph Campbell went in, it's like it's so based on that, and like it's such a huge part of like who we are as like just humans, right, is understanding that. So thank you for making these novels.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I mean, here's the other thing too. This is your second novel, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about The Infernal Promise?
Sure. The Infernal Promise follows this wagon train of immigrants. They're traveling from St. Louis to San Francisco, and there's a portion of them that are Asian. The owners of the wagon train are two Chinese brothers. This is the big deal. This is their big enterprise. There are two Japanese brothers who are adventuring around America, and they've decided they're going to now head on back. There are these three nuns who one of them is ill, and they want to get her back. They are Asian women. One of them is like from Polynesia, and so they're going to return her. There are two Chinese miners, old guys who just their claim has run out, and they're trying to get back to California and start all over again. And also a healthy contingent of Irish, German, Italian immigrants going west. But as floods and dust storms and heat affect the wagon train, their numbers dwindle. And so toward the end, there is the people I talked about, plus I think a ancient priest and his manservant, and this Filipino gambler. They are making their way until they can get the attention of these bandits. There have been stories of bandits taking attacking wagon trains, and so it becomes clear that these bandits are after them. And then, of course, they're getting also walking into a dust storm, the kind of dust storm you see in the movies, where it's like it seems to fill the sky, the dust. And they escape to a cave that turns into a tunnel. And when they get through and past the tunnel, they enter into a world that has two suns, five moons, and where animals talk like people. It's like a wholly different deal. And they go on an adventure. Um, a intergalactic invasion force has come to this planet to take it over, and the entity that is a guardian to this world has drawn these 12 people to defend it. So that's the Infernal Promise. It is what do I describe it as Seven Samurai meets the Lord of the Rings in Narnia.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully it's a lot of fun. The prototype, what I used for inspiration, is the Three Musketeers. The version I really enjoy is the Michael York, Oliver Reed version with Raquel Welch and Faye Dunaway and Oliver Reed. There is this one moment where D'Artagnan, Michael York, they're right toward the end of the story, and it's just got to save the Queen, and Michael York is just like he's facing the Cardinals' men, and it's like 1 against 5, and all of a sudden these gates part open, and in comes Oliver Reed, and he takes his hat and he just tosses it aside, and he comes away, draws his sword, and it's the most heroic thing I've ever seen. And I key in on that because whatever that is, oh, that's so cool. Now that's actors' work. That's Oliver Reed's personality, but that we get a piece of that people who look like us have that piece, that's cool. But I would have to say, we're not exclusive to that. You can find such bravado, and I think you could find that in the Seven Samurai. Look at Toshiro Mifune's work in that. There are other samurai movies where the characters there's a lot of swashbuckle going on there. Well, it's not unique to just one culture, but I really want us to get a piece. And because I can write, I can do that. I can give it to me. I can give it to anybody else who wants it. My best effort to be heroic. Um, we will see. It's my second book, so we will see the success of my intentions. But that's my motivation. Um, and actually, I thank you for having this podcast because I never really verbalized it like that before. So it's like, oh, is that what I did? Oh, I had no idea. So, so thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, so here's the other thing too. Like, so of course, for all listeners out there, I've known Dom for quite a while now.
He remembers me with hair.
And I've known Dom, of course, through East West Players as an actor, a director, a writer. I mean, just you talked a little bit about kind of growing up and kind of how did you come to storytelling
I
overall?
I I can tell you how it was encouraged in second or third grade, where I was going to school. I was going to school in Ben Franklin in Oakland, and there were 9 o'clockers and there were 8 o'clockers. I was a 9 o'clocker, so they taught kids. They staggered the number of kids who would come in to 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And I was a 9 o'clocker, and my teacher, Miss Dorothy Betancourt, invited me to come in at 8 and make story. So I'd come in at 8 and I had these large sheets and I would draw stuff and I would think of story plot and I did that a couple of times, more than just once or twice, I think. But I have never forgotten that. In fact, my dedications in that first book, I mentioned Dorothy Betancourt.
Mm.
Mhm.
But that I don't know which came first, my interest in telling a story or that experience, but I continued to tell stories because of her. I mean, I can trace. I did in Oakland, California, during the 50s. Now we're getting into the 50s. Once every Wednesday, they'd have a kids page, and I remember submitting, and I don't know how I did it because I don't know if I knew how to mail anything, but it was "The Bats Are Flying High" was the title of it. It was a lift from the Body Snatchers. I was so like, and I wrote something about, and it got printed. Oh, well, that's cool. We'll have to do that again. And for whatever reason, I read a lot. So reading, storytelling, one leads to the other, and that's why I continue to be a storyteller now.
And then
Um,
how did that transition into acting specifically?
um, well, I think the segue came because I was a speaker. I was in debate and speech. And in college, in my junior year, it is very distinct. I was at Redlands competing, and I got up to speak, and I had had enough. It was a visceral feeling. I got up there with my index cards, and I'm ready to talk, and I felt it. I, hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, I had plans. I had plans to coach debate and speech in my high school, take the LSAT. Everything was sort of charted out, but I can't do that anymore. At least not right now. So I thought I'll just take like a hiatus and I'll go into drama because I'd done a little bit of acting in high school. I'd go into drama. And the drama department was right next door to the debate club. So I just walked over and said, I'll do whatever. And I ended up building Desdemona's bed. And I had a line or two. The first one I got okay. It was a sail, and I forget the rest of it now, but I did okay with that. But then the second time I got on stage, I came in with like a flaming torch, and I was saying that Othello's ships have come into the harbor, and he awaits you all. Well, I came on stage and I stared at the elders of the council, and I looked at them, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they looked at me, and I went, And a dear friend, his name is Fred Wolf. Don't even know if he's still alive, but Fred Wolf said, "You know what he's saying? He's saying that Othello is in the harbor. He's ready to come in." And I went, and and I realized that's the kind of life I want to live. And I became very successful in college. I got to play the bandit in Rashomon.
Mm.
I got to play Will Shakespeare in A Cry of Players. I got to play Grandpa Vanderhoff in You Can't Take It With You. And then I ended up back in the chorus. But I got into the summer training program at ACT, the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. And I tried and I just stayed on for like 2.5 years. Yeah, 2 years and a half training. And that's immersion into theater and acting and that whole world. So not only was I learning acting, but I was learning acting on a big stage, big cast shows. So I come down to LA and one of Mako's acting classes. And so, what do you guys want? What do you want? You want to get a series, get paid $7,000 a week? And in my mind, I'm thinking, I wanted to do rap. That's all I can think of. I don't understand this other stuff. Oh, things have changed since then. But the the period when I got into college And it was toward the end of my acting training. I did not write. I think I was too busy living life.
Hmm.
But when I decided I would come down to Los Angeles to seek my fortune, part of what kept my head straight was I was writing plays. I would just write something, a kid's show or whatever. And then I found out that the Rockefeller Foundation had a playwriting contest. So I gave it a shot, and I won. The play that I got in, the title of it is called "Nobody on My Side of the Family Looks Like That." It was a comedy, kind of like a musical, and it was three song and dance men were going to this girls' school for Christmas to entertain the girls who did not go home. But there was this monster roaming around who had the body parts that this crazy female scientist put together with the brain of her Filipino gardener, Armado, and so people were singing and they were dancing. It was very crazy, and it was before Young Frankenstein. I note that because we were being crazy before Young Frankenstein. But I have been writing like that ever since. So I don't. If you want kitchen sink drama, that is not my style. I will do something fantastical, um, something that involves ghosts or God, I did a version. My version of Star Wars is called Space Asian.
Wait, is it the same play as Pinoy's in Space, the musical?
No, that's a different story.
That's a different.
But Pinoy's in Space, the musical. Before there was Pinoy's in Space, the musical, there was Pinoy's in Space, the radio play.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'd love
in
to
those
see
days.
that.
In
I'd love to
those
see that or
days,
hear it.
I mean,
Well,
you know, if it's a radio play, maybe we could present it here.
well, there are a number of episodes, and that is a story for another time. Yes, yes, it can be. This is 2025. The tech is way different than it was when, because I had gotten tape, but you know the editing of tape is old fashioned. It's like
Yeah.
razor blade and scotch.
Yeah.
tape.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were doing that, but it requires sound effect support and like that. The fast answer to your idea is it can happen. But it would require, I don't know, it would require actors, it
Yeah.
would require a rewrite, it would require things like that.
I mean, actually, you know, I mean, Star Wars actually has done some really interesting things, you know, kind of picking up on the success of the audiobooks. And they've done kind of full productions like that, actually, of instead of just like leaving it as an audiobook, actually releasing some properties as audio plays, actually, through Audible. It's and of course, you know, you have the whole library of all the Star Wars sound effects, all the music cues and everything for them too.
Yeah.
But
I'd definitely
yeah,
love to
some of
hear
those are
some of
really
that.
fun.
We
Yeah.
had real quickly before we had it was earlier. Forgive me, but somebody in chat, Mark, one of our guys that always comes and watches our streams, he asked, "Were you in an episode of Becker?"
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess he recognized you, and yeah, and so could you kind of talk about that, like some of your?
Well, it was.
I guess it was memorable to him because he remembered it.
So.
Yeah.
I forget the occasion for it. I was an acupuncturist, and Ted Danson, who was we there's a scene where Ted Danson. Well, I graduated from Harvard, and I said I taught at Harvard, and you know things like that. I forget the rest of the plot line to it, but Ted Danson is legit gentleman, first class guy. He made me feel comfortable. I was there when they picked up the option for Becker,
Hmm.
which is very interesting because we're eating lunch, and then the news came out. We got picked up, and everybody congratulated themselves. And I think I remember the crew started introducing themselves to each other. It's like, well, you may not get picked up, so they 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 did not get necessarily know each other. But once they found out that they were going to continue, say, hi, my name's Bill.
Because
That's
before they're
very
just like
interesting.
doing a regular gig, and they were, you're like, who cares? I'm not going to see this guy again. But now they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
That's not
we're going to be working
emotional
together.
investment.
Yeah.
Hold off. Let's not get crazy. But then, yeah, no. And it turns out, my wife Sachiko is an actress, and she did a later episode. She got on
Hmm.
that show as well. Then, and she mentioned my name on it just to see if the guys would remember. So
And we
very good.
and I have one last thing for me. We are getting a little bit. Don't want to keep you too much longer. Um, you and Andy are working in a really interesting project right now together. Can you guys talk about that, or is that something you guys can't talk about just yet? Or
There's
what?
no
We can.
NDA on this. We can speak to
Yeah,
it,
I think
can't
we
we?
can talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the project is the name of it is Kapwa Jam.
Okay.
And Andy, you want to describe it?
So kapwa meaning in English is kapwa
Well,
is
Andy.
I mean, I'm the one non-Filipino on the show.
Andy likes to describe himself as Filipino adjacent.
Yes.
It is a feeling of oh God, there's
It's like
of
community
community,
or yeah.
community, togetherness. Uh, Gosh, I should Google it. But it has that vibe and feeling. It is a kids show, largely a kids show. I play a grandfather, the Lolo, and Andy plays a couple of things. He is a puppeteer. Talk about your characters, Andy.
Yeah, I am my main character is Carabao, which is one of three puppet characters that are kind of based on, major animals in the Filipino community. There's a Saramanok, there's a Tarsier, I was like, a little monkey type character. And yeah, I mean they all kind of have different attributes. I think the role of the Carabao also is kind of used to kind of explore um kind of feelings and anxiety. He's a little bit of an Eeyore type character. Which is very fun and very cute, but it's cool because yeah, it's also kind of providing practical lessons in emotional regulation and stuff, um, um, yeah, and there's occasionally some other ancillary characters that come along. That that
Bio,
Yeah, Caballo is a horse character that shows up in an episode, which I perform as well. Yeah, it's been great fun, honestly, and it's produced by the organization Philam Creatives. G Tongi is a producer, created by Minerva Vier. Um, and yeah, we're in the middle of shooting the first 13 episodes. So,
we are currently on hiatus for the
yes.
holidays, but we will get back to it in January.
And I do not know what the release plan is yet, but I believe they are producing it for public access, particularly in Long Beach. Beyond that, I do not yet know, but I imagine there will be some kind of YouTube
YouTube.
or
Yeah,
some other release as well.
that looks really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I look forward to seeing it. So
So do we.
So do we.
and but yeah, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. I don't want to keep you much longer. And any other things that you want to plug? You get a chance to.
Well, we talked about the 14th, the book signing at the Outside In Theater. I think that's the primary thing if somebody's interested in the books. you can type in my name and Amazon.com and see what comes up, Dom Magwili. Or the Infernal Promise is the what is it? Epic fantasy story, and Scientific Dragons is the steampunk story.
And those are both available on Amazon. You can either get the physical book or Audible or e-reader as well.
The Infernal Promise is also an audiobook.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. And yeah, once again, do check out those tickets for the I mean, the tickets are free, but you can attend that book launch and talk to Dom directly. This is again at the Outside In Theater Art Space over on 5317 York Boulevard in Highland Park. And that is on December 14th, a Sunday at 3.
Very good.
Great. All right, and I think that about wraps it up for this episode. Yeah, Rodney, anything else we need to cover?
Not much. I would say hopefully we can come back and finish out the year with the rest of the squad, and we can talk about maybe I could talk about my life, our Life Day adventure.
That's true.
At Disneyland on the 17th. Yeah,
it is the holidays after all.
It is
Star Wars holidays included.
And I need to try to get a picture with Chewbacca in his robe,
in his red robe,
yeah,
and his glowing orb.
Yeah. So.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on the Geekish Network. Please follow the Geekish Network on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and subscribe to the channel. We will be releasing more episodes in the coming weeks, so please keep an eye out for those, and check all the schedules for the other great shows here throughout the week. Thanks on the flight deck to Rodney. We are the Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
And I am Rodney at Rodney Kugudo on all platforms. And also you could find I run the Geekish Network socials. So if you just drop us a line there.
And how about you, Dom? Where can the folks find you?
Good God. I have a website. It's dmagwili at dmagwili.com.
Excellent. All right. And all wings return to base. Course laid in and prepare to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night.
Good night.